The Cal locker room is now open for the next 30 minutes. Also today, Cal has decided to have an open practice, so from 11:30 to 1, the media is invited to watch the entire practice, the Cal Golden Bears. All right, so first up today is the Cal Bears. They're the number 7 seed. They're 21-10 overall. They were 11-7 in the Pac-12. This is their 6th NCAA tournament appearance in the last 7 years and 13th overall. Representing Cal today is head coach Lindsey Gottlieb, student athletes Michaela Cowling, Asia Thomas, and Christine Anigwe. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach and then open up for questions first for just the student athletes, and then we'll release them and then come back and take questions for Coach Gottlieb. So Coach, please make an opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate the support of the women's NCAA tournament and of our team. We're incredibly excited to be here. Columbia, South Carolina has already been a good host. This is a terrific building with great women's basketball fans. And I'm proud and happy to bring this Cal women's basketball team here. We're looking forward to a terrific first-round matchup. We congratulate Virginia and my great friend and mentor, Joanne Boyle, on getting her team here. And I'm very proud of what this team has accomplished and looking forward to playing more basketball. So hope it's a great game on Friday afternoon.
We'll take questions for the student athletes. Please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Jeffrey.
This is for any of y'all. How tough was it to get up this morning? It's about 7:50, I guess, over on the West Coast. What time did y'all have to get up, and how tough has it been to adjust to getting up so early and practicing?
Yeah, it was tough. It was definitely tough. I had an alarm go off, and I didn't set it, so that woke me up, and I was like, all right, I'm here. But it was definitely tough, but, I mean, we'll get used to it. We'll get ready to play.
Ben.
For any of you guys, just what kind of preparation is kind of going through the gauntlet that is the Pac-12 to kind of get you ready for this kind of competition?
Honestly, I feel like we just been practicing really hard, and we've been trying to do everything to get here. So now that we're here, we're just trying to keep going.
I think I can add on that Pac-12 is like really competitive conference. So I think those games we've been playing have led up to like the moment now in order for us to like experience really good competition and a high level basketball pace.
Other questions? Joe?
Christine, if you could kind of preview kind of your personal matchup. It looks like you're going to be maybe matched up with Ayatan from Virginia. Two bigs, pure bigs going at it. So how do you kind of foresee that matchup going and kind of dealing with her size?
I'm really excited. We have like similar backgrounds in the sense that we're both Nigerian, and so that's like really cool. And I watched like the little clip that Chineke Agumike had about her, and it was really, really cool. So I'm excited to play against her, and yeah.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Okay, you guys can go. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now we'll open up for questions for Coach Gottlieb. Ben?
Just what is that like trying to prepare to check a 6'9" girl in the middle?
Well, I think you had referenced before the competition in the Pac-12. So I do think the Pac-12 prepares you for all different kinds of styles. You know, there's no one 6'9" in our league. There's no one, I don't think, 6'9" in the country other than Felicia. But, you know, a Marie Gulich at Oregon State poses a problem. An Emily Potter at Utah. Then a different kind of maybe a style of post player with a Monique Billings at UCLA. So I do think, you know, you want to get to this point and have faced all different types of opponents. Particularly, I think Virginia and Felicia in particular, they do a great job defensively, right? So she's a presence in there. So I think we've said to Christine and the rest of our post players, we still want to be in attack mode. We don't want to let it take us away from what we do, which is have, you know, a big presence in the paint offensively. So, you know, watching film, and we watch what she can do, but we also watch, you know, people trying to aggressively score against her as well to give our players some confidence.
Rick?
What was your initial reaction when you saw the bracket and you saw that you were going to go against Coach Boyle?
You know, so there's nothing like seeing your name in the NCAA tournament, right? And you often like don't know what else is going on. Sometimes I've heard our name over the course of my career and not know where we're going or even who we're playing. But seeing Cal right next to Virginia obviously was resonated with me right away. And you know, it's a mixture of things. You don't want to play against your friends sometimes because one person obviously can't win and you root hardest for your friends. That being said, there was a mixture also of pride. I know how hard they've worked to get here and the great job that Joanna's done with a young group. So I was happy for her as well and happy to see their name called. And just a mixture of emotions. You know, I'm not afraid to say I would not be sitting in this seat if it wasn't for Joanne Boyle. I wouldn't be at Cal. I wouldn't be the head coach at Cal. I wouldn't be playing the NCAA tournament right now. And so there were a lot of mixed emotions, you know, with that, but most of them pride and respect and happiness and just glad to be able to get an extra trip to see her as well.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, I was going to follow up on that. If you can just kind of talk about your relationship with Joanne and what, you know, what y'all have had over the past, what, decade or more.
Yeah. And we don't have enough time for me to tell the whole relationship, but I will say that when I was a senior in college and decided that I wanted to not become a lawyer like the rest of my family and go into coaching, my best friend played at Duke, who Joanne had recruited, and I'd gotten to know her, and I went down to watch Duke play in the NCAA tournament, and my friend said, well, why don't you talk to my coaches about getting into coaching? And Joanne sat with me in Cameron Indoor Stadium for an hour after their shoot-around when they're preparing for the NCAA tournament. So think about that now. The thought of spending time with a college kid now, like that's what she did for me, and we had a great conversation. And then fast forward a few years later when I was in coaching, and I was 24 years old, and Joanne got the job at the University of Richmond and asked me to come along with her. And at 24 years old, I had to get a note from the athletic director to be able to rent a car. And yet Joanne said, hey, let's go do this together. And the autonomy she gave me and the confidence she instilled in me, it was pretty special. And then when she took the Cal job, bringing me along with her, and I got to see her build a second program. So from a personal standpoint, it has been part of my career then to be able to think about helping other young people. We've become much more than just mentor, mentee, and she's one of my best friends, but I'm definitely aware that I wouldn't be in this seat without her. And then one last thing, like I said, I know there's a lot of time on it. When she took the Virginia job and I got the Cal job, there's not a lot of seamless transitions in this profession where you care about people more than anything else. And when we went to the Final Four with the players that she had mainly recruited and the team that she had built for 2 years, she was right there by my side when we got to New Orleans because she was proud of us. So that kind of thing isn't lost on me, and that's why I'll always be a fan of Joanne and Virginia. We'll try to beat them on Friday, obviously, and honor that relationship that way. But she's a pretty amazing person.
Another question, Jeffrey? And then Ben?
Just, if you can kind of, basketball fans around here are very familiar with the SEC, probably pretty familiar with the ACC as far as powerful women's basketball conferences. Maybe not so much about the Pac-10. Kind of explain to people what the Pac-10 is about, what kind of basketball they play, and where it kind of falls in line with ACC, SEC kind of basketball.
The first thing is there's actually 12 teams now. Appreciate that out here you don't get to see us as much. I mean, obviously the Pac-12 network has helped a lot. But I do know that South Carolina fans are real basketball fans. I mean, they show up. Dawn's done an incredible job here to build this, and I'm excited to bring our team here. The Pac-12 is arguably, the strongest women's basketball conference now, along with the SEC and the ACC. I don't want to come down here and, insult anyone with the great basketball that they have. But I think that the schools on the West Coast have committed to making women's basketball a priority, and all of a sudden you're seeing, over the course of the last 5 years, the best West Coast players stay home. And so the conference has everything. There's speed, there's skill, there's athleticism, there's great coaching. So that's what we've faced throughout our conference. I think what we will bring down here is a team that likes to get up and down the floor. We have one of the best post players in the country in Christina Nigwe, but when we've been at our best, it's been balanced. And our guard play this year, I think, has been a differentiator for us. So Asia Thomas, our junior guard has, been able to make great decisions and put the ball in the basket, or get the ball, inside. I think Michaela Cowling is as athletic, a wing as you'll see. I think you'll see her at the next level. in the WNBA as well. So we just, I think, try to play up-tempo. We focus on defense like everybody else, but also want to get out and run in transition and have a balanced inside-outside attack.
Ben.
Just from a coaching standpoint, is it a little trickier facing someone you know so well, because I'm sure she knows you well, you know what she likes to do, that kind of thing?
I think each of us has sort of, it's been 7 years, right, since, actually 10 years since we've coached on the same staff, 7 years for me at Cal and 3 years that I became a head coach prior to that. So I think we've both evolved in terms of stuff we run. I mean, the game has evolved, and the type of offenses and defenses we've added in. I'm sure Joanne feels the same way watching film. There's a play here or there. I'm like, oh yeah, we called that this, or we ran it, back in the day for this or that player that we coached. But I think from a pure basketball standpoint, we've both evolved, and there's not that much that's an exact blueprint. I would say for me, where I'm more familiar with them per se, is anytime I have a free moment and they're on TV, I'm trying to watch, right? So I maybe saw more of Virginia as a casual kind of fan than I would have otherwise. So it wasn't brand new to learn their players. It wasn't brand new to see their style of play. I watched a lot of Virginia last year and this year, just trying to keep up with Joanne and her team.
Joe.
From a team mentality standpoint, coming off such a close loss to UCLA to end your regular season, what has been the team's mentality in this kind of interim period leading up to this tournament this Friday?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's we talked a couple days in practice during the week leading in that we should be one of the hungriest teams. We should have a little bit of a chip. That was a tough loss. That was a game we felt like we could have won against a great team. So I think in some ways, I showed them film from that in a positive way of, hey, if we can, beat a UCLA on the boards in the second half, if we can put ourselves in position to win, we should be able to do that whoever our next opponent is. So we try to build that mentality. We also try to keep that chip on our shoulder of, hey, if we don't do A, B, and C, we can lose a game, And so that time between the end of your conference tournament and the NCAA tournament stuff, you don't know who you're going to play. You don't know where you might be, so you work on yourself. So we gave them some rest and kind of rejuvenation, but we also tried to hone in on the type of basketball we want to be playing when our name is called, and I think that's what we tried to do.
Ben.
So last year, Arizona State came here and actually ended up pushing South Carolina pretty much to the limit. USC obviously eventually goes to win the title. Is that something you kind of took note of when you found out you were coming here? And does that, considering where Arizona was in the standings last year, does that kind of speak to what the Pac-12 is sort of about?
I remember we were at a restaurant in Waco, Texas, when we were getting ready to play our game, and we were watching that South Carolina-Arizona State game on TV because it was a great game and someone in our conference. We have not and will not talk about South Carolina until if we are fortunate enough to move past the first round. But I do think in general what we have talked about, kind of big picture philosophical with our team when the time has been appropriate, is that Washington was the fifth place team in our conference a couple years ago and went to the Final Four. Oregon was the sixth place team in our conference last year and went to the Elite Eight. So I think we talk about what our conference has done to prepare us, and we can play with and beat anybody, right, mentality-wise. But right now, that focus is all on Virginia and how we prepare for this team. And Virginia's, really good. They're a terrific defensive team. They're incredibly balanced. They've got guards who can really make plays, and so we're talking about that. But if and when there's a time to make our players feel confident enough that they can play with anybody, we certainly will, find ways to try to do that.
Any other questions for Coach Gottlieb? Seeing none, we'll let her go.
Thank you all.
Again, the locker room is open until 11:20, and then the practice goes from